Crystal French ATS, fallen in glyphos, Careful Michael W. They take the oxygen, but fed out Robert me. All I have dropped was Steve of Briscoe County to rich. Rich on rich guy. Why I'm saying fierce of a sense of commands and taken out valid me. For a brilliant mistake. Give it these us level, let me like fast. Brian Trunches, Oculent Network B, Entry and Names Code into you. Monsters on you, Lords are ranked at B. QCCE Located by a K On the updates 2022A WRC Don't Mike and Centennial Guy FMT Station Ronald down top of you, Rush me monitoring.
Reported to be the thinnest and lightest double stack 9mm on the market, the Kel-Tec P15 is something I'm really curious about. Coming up next, you'll see my absolute first shots through the gun. We'll see how these mags and this gun run fully stuffed. Take it to our trademark What's for Dinner test table to see what the gun will eat. Over to the spinner for sights and trigger control, tritium fiber optic sights. Then some practical accuracy followed by concluding thoughts. All coming up next on Time for first shots with the P15. I'm 25 yards back from our Thor targets. A-zone, little bitty guy out there, but you know, gives me something to aim at. I've got 10 rounds of MagTech 115 grain in the thinnest and lightest double stack 9mm on the market. I did add the backstrap to it. It was a lot easier than I thought in the tabletop. Just it's rubbery for a reason. Got to kind of stretch it to pop it in place. And I still have the magazine disconnect and the grip safety active, but that, as I showed, can be disabled. See how this goes. Usually thin and light makes for a handful. Not bad. Can't see my hits. This it's 40 degrees and kind of foggy, and the sun just broke. Not enough to burn off the fog yet, but enough to certainly blind me. Looks like I need to aim a little bit high. Fairly controllable. I gotta say it is a little jarring, as one would expect from a lightweight gun that you can barely get your hand on, but it's not terrible. And as a carry gun, that's when you're usually going with something that is lighter and thinner to make it more comfortable to carry, because you're only going to be shooting it in defense. So far, not bad. The trigger is less defined on the range than I thought it was in the tabletop, but we'll see that in a second here as I load up this magazine for a full mag plus one. I did order an additional magazine, but Gunzone Deals, I guess, decided not to ship it, which is kind of annoying. I haven't heard back from them yet. Maybe it went slow post some other way or something, and it'll probably arrive, you know, tomorrow after I've already filmed. But we'll do full mag plus one. Having trouble getting the 15th round in here. Oh, nope. It looks like it's going to be a 14 plus one, at least without a mag loader. And they are brand new mags. They're Mekar mags, very nicely made, very pretty bluing. So we'll do our plus one from the short guy, and then 14 from the other. And I'm just going to dump this in the berm. I want to try to go for, see what kind of speed and rhythm I can develop out of this gun, though it is jumping around in my hand quite a bit, as you guys have probably already seen. So what I felt there was the gun swam a little bit left to right in my hand, and definitely getting some pain on the back side from the grip safety. And I noticed that when I put the extension on, the way this beaver tail sits, there's kind of a sharp edge there that tends to hit right in the flesh of my hand. So not the most comfortable thing. I'm not going to pull it off for the review. I'm just going to continue. That's the most rapid firing that I have to do in this thing. So next up is what's for dinner to see if the gun will eat. It's that time again. What's for dinner time? As I roll past these, you'll see that we're going from 65 grain up to 165 grain today. Each of these loads has a different bullet profile and shape, overall loaded length. We've got different case materials, projectile types, etc. We're looking to see, what will the gun eat? Will it feed from side lock? Will it cycle and load another round of the same type under its own power? And will it lock open on empty? Testing beyond the 3 rounds that we're doing today would let us know if the magazine's compatible with the ammo, but we don't have time or resources for that. So if you want to try any of these, check the pinned comment, and I will list sources for these loads over in the full review. What's for dinner is done 7 yards back from some 2-inch circles just to have a point of aim, but they can also show us point of impact. Really, we're looking to see how the gun runs. Our lightest load today is the Novex 65 grain. It feels silly light, this little mag. It is a plus P load. Plus P is generally used to compensate for a suboptimal barrel length. This is a 4-inch barrel, so we don't need plus P, but we'll give it a try. This stuff can be a little bit fireball-y, so we'll see how it does in this gun and how it feels with this uncomfortable backstrap extension. Oh, that's a fireball. But recoil was not bad, and the gun ran just fine with it. Now we have some 70 grain lead-free from Federal American Eagle. This stuff is awesome if you value your lungs and shoot indoors. I'm going to run that 12-round magazine, which is a flush fitter, which gives me just a finger and a half to hold on to the gun. Circle number 2. Also a little sparky. And a little jarring. Not the most comfortable thing to shoot. Next up is Koenig 110 grain jacketed hollow point. This is supposed to be a competition load. However, at least in the stuff that I've bought, it hasn't always had equal load length, and so some guns don't like it. Circle 3. This thing is so light. Ran just fine. I think I'm going to stick with the 15-round magazine just so I can really hold on to the gun. The trigger, it's not predictable. It's kind of like a rolling break. You don't really feel a break. It's almost like shooting a revolver. Now we're on to the SIG Elite Defense V-Crown 115 grain for Circle 4. Oh, I couldn't see where that went. Not bad. Next up, Blazer 115 grain aluminum case. There's an awesome rock video over on Rumble. The editing's pretty bad, need a new director, but the song's pretty good, explaining why we use aluminum and or steel. Ooh, that V-Crown had a sulfuric smell in this gun. And that Blazer aluminum, a little bit like a sweet candle. Not quite gross Yankee Candle, gotta like smell something to purify your nose, but smelled a little sweet and ran nicely. SIG Elite Defense 124 grain. Did an interesting test on this not long ago over on the website. Whew, that's a little jarring. It's printing pretty nice. Lee, adverb. But that, yeah, I'm starting to feel it in my wrist. This gun is not the most fun to shoot, I guess you could say, but it's a carry gun. Federal 130 grain Syntec PCC load, meant for long barrels, like 16-inch barrels. It's a slow burner, but tends to be kind of fun in What's for Dinner. Yeah, it's more of a push. I'm so far impressed, Keltec. Don't think it's a gun I'd want to run a 1,000-round course with, but it's running well. It's accurate. The swing through trigger kind of thing is not really a problem for me, I don't think. For defensive shooting, it just makes sense. This next load, Winchester PDX-1 Defender, 147 grain. These tend to be punchy. Goodbye wrist. Here we go. Oh yeah. It runs. Now Fiocchi 147 grain Defense Dynamics, an affordable hollow point. Makes sense in an affordable gun. Circle 9. Much softer. This is a more comfortable load to shoot in this gun, which has me excited for our third load, which tends to be the softest, the Ammo Inc. Stolf 165 grain. It's meant for suppressors, runs great in suppressors, super quiet, but it's also a very slow moving, very heavy, gentle load for Circle 10. Yeah, that was comfy. Very comfy to shoot. I'm a little apprehensive about my performance potential on the spinner. This trigger is not very predictable. This will be an interesting one. See how it does. We're about 15 yards back from that 6-inch spinner target. Use this target for sights and trigger control because it's a small target at distance. And as I hit it, it starts to move. So if I want to get it to spin over the top, I have to time well-placed shots. Hence, sights and trigger control. I have 8 rounds of that Magtech 115 grain. This might be a challenge in the Kel-Tec since I can't really time the shots, at least I haven't learned to yet. Is it going to make a difference? Let's find out. Timing the shots proved not as difficult as I expected because I just kind of started the pull about the time that I wanted to make a hit. Accuracy was an issue for me there, which obviously it wasn't in What's for Dinner. What makes a difference here is the speed of shooting. This gun, because it's so narrow and because the texture isn't really traction on the front and back strap, I had a lot of problem with the gun swimming left and right under recoil in my hand. That's probably because I wear double XL gloves, so I've got very large hands and this is a very small gun. So that's something to be aware of when matching gun to hand size. Remember, it is a hand gun. Hand plays a role. Timing the shot, not as hard as I thought, and that was the important thing. These sights are great. They're tritium fiber optic. The front sight is huge, which for a defensive gun makes sense. It helps you get on there faster. It helps you track. For shooting tight groups or shooting a small target, it's a little more challenging, which we will definitely see more of coming up in practical accuracy. Practical accuracy is 5 shots from 7 yards shot at a 1-inch square. It makes for a nice fine aiming point that tends to be about the same size of your average front sight post. This is practical. I'm using the same Magtech 115 grain and I'm standing freehand. It shows potential capability of the gun if I do my part, but it's also where I collect my thoughts before giving you my concluding thoughts, which is the next segment. Here we go. Yes, that square is smaller than this front sight post, which confirms my suspicion of a large sight post. Pretty decent results for a small gun. I'm happy with that. After shots for the Kel-Tec P15. What we have is a small, lightweight, looking camera, there we go, a small, lightweight pistol for concealed carry, and, well, we've got the results of that. It swims around in the hand a little bit, it definitely flips more in the hand under recoil, but that's to be expected because you've got less traction on the gun, less surface area to hold on to, and less weight in the gun to counter some of that Pretty cool. I did just notice the guide rod here, the screw in the end is, wow, it was out 3 turns, so I'm going to need to add some Loctite to that when I get home. Something to be aware of if you're going to try one of these. But as far as other general quality and feels, it's not bad at all. Some trigger snobs might complain about a roll-through trigger. I don't think it's really an issue, and we saw, and those of you that have watched enough of these sights and trigger control segments know about timing the hits to make that thing happen. I was still able to time the hits. It's still learnable. It's sometimes kind of a surprise. It's weird, we've got sun out and misting rain happening at the same time. Yay, Pacific Northwest. But I don't have any complaints about the trigger. It beat up my hand a little bit in the beginning. That has gone away somewhat. There's a little bit of skin lost on the corner of the tang here. But I learned how to grab onto it and how to shoot it in this process. It wasn't bad. Overall, I think Kel-Tec's got a smart piece here. Is it going to hold up for thousands and thousands of rounds? I don't know, and I won't know. I quite frankly don't have the time or the resources to pull off testing like that. And on little carry guns like this, I don't think they're ever really meant for that. It's something that you shoot, you get comfortable with, and you carry it. This, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this came out before the SIG Fuse, and I think is kind of along the same lines. It's only a 4-inch barrel, and it's a 15 rounder, so it's not quite the same, but similar in general concept, I guess you could say, but it is lighter, and it's only 7/8 of an inch wide. Pretty narrow gun. So I think Kel-Tec did a good job here. They pulled off, when I've always admired Kel-Tec's engineering efforts, it's their manufacturing that I think holds them back. And this one seems all right. When I get home, I'll see if any of these screws that are holding the chassis into the frame have backed out a little bit or have come loose, but one seems proud, but I can't turn it with my finger. I'd need to get a wrench in there. Overall, not bad. I'd say if you were looking for something thin and light without sacrificing capacity or barrel length, which for me is the big one. I want my ammo to perform as intended, and in the US that means 4-inch barrel. Once you go below that, then you've got to either have specialty ammo or some plus P to make sure that your round is going to impact at the velocity it was intended for. So this eliminates that because it's a 4-inch barrel, it's 15 rounds, it's the same concept of like your Glock 19, but it's a whole lot lighter, a whole lot slimmer, very comfy for carry. I think it's pretty good. I can't complain about something without also taking into consideration like what it is. You know, it's not a range gun. I wouldn't want to run a big course with it, but it's also not a terrible gun. It's still shootable, and I think that's another point to consider. The guns that are smaller and lighter tend to not be a lot of fun on the range. This one wasn't particularly fun, but it also wasn't terrible. Thank you, patrons, for making this video possible. The patrons are the ones who funded this gun. If you like reviews like this that the manufacturer didn't even know were coming because I purchased it, then please consider joining our patrons. Patrons of this channel decide how the money is spent. Once there's enough of a pool, I ask what people are interested in. The top ones of that go into an actual poll, and the top vote for it is how we end up with things. This time around, the patrons said, Graham, find something in the Black Friday deals. So I found a very affordable Kel-Tec P15, and that's how we had this video. Thank you guys for 9 years of support, and we'll see you in the next video.